Troubling symptoms aren't exactly new to me. I've been dealing with them off and on since I was a teenager, reporting to doctors who never really seemed all that concerned. I know it looks like a lot, Nick, and that can be scary. But really it isn't. If you prick your finger and feed the droplets into the toilet bowl, you'd see pretty much the same pattern. The doctor tells me it's just the hemorrhoids that run in my family. His gloved finger confirms it. Ugh. And so does the doctor's note I present to the front office. But I'm a high school senior now. Graduation is in 2 weeks, and I couldn't possibly be more excited to finally... Wait, I probably could have gone home. Why didn't I just go home? Oh yeah, graduation rehearsal. Ugh. You know, I think back to that day sometimes, to the doctor's benign diagnosis, and the 2 others who've said more or less the same thing since then. Just hemorrhoids. Stop worrying. And I nod my head. I mean, 1,000 gloved fingers can't be wrong. After all, anything serious probably would have killed me by now, right? But that's an irresponsible way to live. And it's darker now. This isn't good. This is scary. I need to do something about this before it's too late. I mean, it's treatable if they catch it in time. At least that's what I heard. That's what I read. So I'm glad I'm finally getting the thing done. You know, the whole Cameron Diaz experience. Just say it in Arnold Schwarzenegger's voice and it'll come to you. I can't take credit for that joke, but I swear I've heard it often enough to think of a colonoscopy that way for years. Of course, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't terrified. I really need to take a drive. My Mustang is where I get my best thinking done. Which seems counterintuitive to the identity of a Mustang, but I'm thankful to have Red Betty at all, if I'm being perfectly honest. I didn't have a car for the entirety of my 20s because I was broke as hell. I didn't have a job that paid much. I had anxiety I couldn't do a whole lot about because I didn't have health insurance. And I didn't have health insurance because I couldn't afford to have health insurance. Not that it stopped me from getting seen. In my mind, if you find something wrong, then you go get checked out and you just eat the cost because at least you'll be alive, right? That was the approach that I took, and I assumed a mountain of medical debt as a result. Big surprise. But once I finally paid off the debt after years and years, I recognized I never wanted to be in that position again. So when problems presented themselves, I looked for any number of rational explanations to give me an out. Until I realized it was all I ever thought about, because I had developed an irrational and paradoxical health anxiety in my late 20s. I hesitate to call it hypochondria because I'm not a health professional, but I would say it was a healthily unhealthy obsession. I'm sure the doctors got tired of seeing my ass before I finally found a decent therapist, and while I now had a job I loved and health insurance to offset the cost, I couldn't really claim that the life I was living was any sort of a life at all. Why do I have reflux so often? Should I be on medication? Am I scarring my esophagus? Why are my bowel habits so consistently inconsistent? Why is it these 2 issues? Always these 2 issues. I thought I had this all under control. Why is this coming back now and worse? Suddenly I realized I couldn't take the not knowing anymore. Ignorance was an unsustainable mindset. These 2 little things were the source of all of my health anxiety, the fear that growths existed inside my body and were slowly doing their terrible work. So I get a referral and make an appointment because the truth is, psychologically, my life can't be good again until I cross this one thing off of my to-do list. I have to get one camera shoved up my butt and another one shoved down my throat. Hopefully not the same one. It's an RCR diary. Actually. There we go. That's better. Yeah, let's just go with that. So here are the things that I need to purchase. I need to get a 64-ounce and a 32-ounce bottle of Gatorade, Propel, Crystal Light, water, or any clear liquid, any color but red or purple. Then I need to get a 238-gram bottle of Miralax, a 119-gram bottle of Miralax, 5-milligram Dulcolax laxative tablets, and 2 125-milligram simethicone or Gas-X tablets. Ugh. I'm gonna be out of my brain all day. And I still have a rap to record for the outro to the Monte Carlo review. And I can spoil that because by the time this comes out, the Monte Carlo will have already come out. So I am terrified that something's going to be wrong. I always am. I have severe medical anxiety that I'm trying to work through, and part of it is getting this scope. I don't have a family history. I don't have any of those indicators other than, I guess, I'm overweight, but that's also something I'm working on, and it's something that I want to continue to work on. I mean, my weight is going to fluctuate, but I don't want to believe that my value will as a person. I just want to be well, and I know that some people, they want, in a Ric Flair kind of way, they want long limousines, jet airplanes, custom-made clothes. And that wasn't meant to be a Ric Flair voice at all, but the only thing I want is to be well. And so, I don't know, I guess we'll see. Preparation begins 2 days out since I'm getting the serpent from both ends. I get a hotel since it's closer to my doctor's office, and because I don't want to subject my brother to what this is going to do to me. He's the only guy who values his time on the can as much as I do, and we had enough civil wars over who got to take a shit first as kids. No point revisiting childhood in the projects, no matter how fun that childhood actually was when it didn't have to do with bowel movements. So yeah, hotel. I'm booked for 3 nights, 2 for the prep and 1 for recovery, since I'm not supposed to drive after the procedure. I'm also encouraged not to do any work or make any life-altering decisions, which is just as well, I guess. But I can still document things on my phone because I don't know exactly. Content? And so here I am, prepared to walk that well-trodden path and hop onto a canoe next to Boromir's rotting corpse to sail the River Brown and to tell the world about it for some idiotic reason. Okay, the weird part about this whole thing is waiting for the for that first eruption, for that first moment where, you know, the floodgates have opened, and as Brian puts it, it's like, you know, you put on a clean pair of pants and then suddenly your ass is like, let me sing you the song of my people. That's part of the reason why I checked myself into a hotel, so that I don't subject anybody to the unpleasantness of this whole experience, because I need an open bathroom that's entirely to myself. Now, of course, I could live alone if I wanted to, but I don't really want to. It's one of those things where, you know, yes, I'm a 35-year-old man. I should probably have my own house. I should have a wife and kids. I should have a dog, picket fence, all that bullshit. But I don't care about living life the way I'm kind of supposed to. And I never really have been. The idea that you're supposed to leave your hometown, like, I went to school with so many people who their only goal was to just get the hell out of their hometown. And I never really wanted to leave because everything I love is here. My family is here. So many of my friends were here and still are, even though I don't really see any of them because of everything that's going on. But I just love it. I just get the feeling of home here. And so it's something that oh shit. All right. Be right back. I run off camera as the first explosion threatens to crest the surface of the bubbled mountains, and for every explosion to come. I'm not allowed to eat anything but broth or Jell-O, and I had done all my grocery shopping earlier and opted for the Jell-O out of the apocryphal notion that it'd be more substantial. And let me tell you, it's not. Jell-O isn't food, and you never realize how much it's not food until it's all you can have. I go with the lime flavor because I'm not allowed anything red or purple, and orange is all gone, and it's probably too close to the colors I'm not allowed to have in my body. And let me just say, it's kind of amazing how quickly Jell-O can work its way through your system, retaining all the aesthetic properties even if it doesn't maintain consistency. God's honest, by the end of the first day of prep, the toilet bowl looked like a bottle of absinthe. I want to get in front of a camera afterwards and talk about this, but that's the last thing you want to do after spending the day drinking laxatives and feeling the thundering call of nature's ringtone as hot liquid leaves your body at escape velocity. But damn it, I made a commitment. All right, so, Monte Carlo in the house like a new show. It don't need to act the pro though. Slow-mo. Roman got the Hunter S flow though. The name is fuck. No. Critic, cause I'm maybe diacritic. Can you find me over here? Why can't I rap? Monte Carlo in the house like a new show. It don't need to act all good like a blue nose gonzo, but I'm not a Hunter S pro though. Slow-mo. Roman... Can't take breaths. That was just a cute line. Really more a cute line. Can't get the accent on my keyboard. Maybe I should Google it and maybe... Fuck! Maybe if I do it standing up. And we'll feel like the show Steve Harvey's on. Hardly wrong, though Carlo's only partly gone. 120,000 miles and the heartbeat's on. In the M90 that we don't pronounce it on. Why am I dancing? I could stitch it together, but I really want to do it in one go, because if I stitch it together, it's going to set things off with a metronome. Monte Carlo in the house like a new show. It don't need to act all good like a blue nose gonzo, but I'm not a Hunter S pro though. Slow-mo, Roman got the Hunter S flow though. His pen was a doorway. Fjord Motor Company, we're fresh out of Norway. No! The name is Monacan. Drive this, or like Chris, we'll be walking and we'll feud like the show Steve Harvey's on. Hardly wrong, the Carlo's only partly gone. 120,000 miles and the heartbeat's on. In the M90 that you don't pronounce it on. My mind is fermenting like a gonzamolic, because my brain's going under like a C-lab. Call me diacritic, because I'll maybe diacritic. You can find me over E like I never needed rehab. That was just a cute line. Really more a cute line. Can't get the accent on my keyboard. Maybe I should Google it and maybe learn to read more. Like a Monte Carlo, maybe learn not to preach more. Maybe find the time to do the doc about the speed war. Maybe get my car not to leak through the heat core. Get a Monte Carlo so my neighbor talks to me more. Maybe find a therapist to teach me not to need more. But that's a pretty tall order for anybody. Look, I don't know why I thought the week of a colonoscopy and endoscopy was the time to finally record an outro song that would require effort. But then it's very much on brand for a guy who likes making things harder on himself for no other reason than to meet the atavistic demands of self-flagellation. The process will continue tomorrow, with the bigger bottle of Miralax into the bigger bottle of water, and I will ride glorious in porcelain upon the chocolate road, and hell will ride with me. But I have to get through today first. I watch Written on the Wind, the film that earned Robert Stack his only Oscar nomination. It's free on YouTube for reasons that escape me. Stack went to his grave thinking he lost the Oscar because of the politics of the studio system in 1950s Hollywood. You see, he was a 20th Century Fox actor on loan for this movie to Universal International, an oxymoronic name if I've ever heard one. And 20th Century Fox sure as hell wasn't going to stand for one of their guys winning an Oscar for The Enemy. So they ran a secret counter-campaign against their own man to ensure Anthony Quinn won the Oscar for playing Paul Gauguin for 10 minutes. You can't watch Written on the Wind and tell me Stack didn't deserve that Oscar. Best drunk acting you'll ever find anywhere. But there are worse things in the world than to be known as the host of the greatest show in the history of television. A call comes from the doctor's office asking if I can come in an hour earlier. I don't ask why. I just say, sure, that'd be great. And my brain tightens at the thought of having one less hour. So I went to visit my dad's tombstone the other day, and I went to take him some kind of flower type thing, but I couldn't really find anything, so I ended up taking him this little miniature cactus. But what was weird about it was that I got there and there was this American flag planted directly into the ground where his headstone is, like directly meant for him. And the flag itself wasn't the issue. What was weird was the little medallion. It had an eagle and it commemorated World War II, despite the fact that my dad wasn't born until 13 years after the war ended, and he never served in the military. So, I mean, I'm assuming it was the wrong headstone, but I left it. Of course I left it. I mean, I don't know if it was someone he knew and maybe they had some sort of like inside reference about this. I mean, I'm trying to think, and the most likely explanation is that it was just a person who had the wrong headstone, but still. And then before that, I had gone to see my grandmother's headstone. And I know that in a very theatrical sense, you're not really supposed to have those movie-like conversations with the deceased, I guess, but I'm talkative in general. And I just found myself talking to my grandma, talking about how like things are different in a lot of ways, but in other ways they're kind of the same. Everyone is getting by. And in a good way, you know, not something where we're struggling. I mean, any more than the rest of the world is struggling. But for some reason, it gives me some measure of peace to be able to say, like, hey, we're doing okay. And that we miss you. And I know that that's something that meant a lot to my grandmother, too. She always visited the graves of people who she loved and always made sure that the headstones were kept up in good condition and that, you know, there were people visiting, not necessarily regularly, but, you know, often enough that you don't become a stranger. And I don't want to become a stranger, although, I mean, who is it really for? It's for us. It's for the living. It's not for the person who's gone. So yeah, that was something that I felt I had to do because I hadn't been there for a while. And I also took her a cactus, but at least with her it made sense because she actually used to own one, a potted cactus. I mean, I didn't leave the pot there. It was just kind of like, why am I telling this story? Oh. I don't know why I'm documenting all of this, you know? Like, it's not something that I think anyone's really asking for from a car channel, but then it wouldn't make sense for any other car channel but this one, you know? Brown. Although it's really more clear. This is the drink. I have to drink a little bit at a time every half hour for the next 4 hours, and then take some Gas-X tablets so that I don't know, so that it's not Mount Vesuvius while I'm asleep. Maybe. I don't vlog that often because it's too easy to get lost in the weeds telling stories that don't really go anywhere, like Grandpa Simpson. Yet sometimes the stories are necessary distractions, just as the act of vlogging itself often can be. The more lost you are in thought, the less likely it is for your anxieties to find you. It's like a weird game of hide and seek. I suppose focus is the enemy of anxiety, but cognitive obscurity will do just as well in a pinch. Tomorrow's a big day. My mom's picking me up. And I don't know, I've never been under anesthetic before, and I mean, I'm not concerned about that, but I guess part of it is just trying to figure out what it is I should be worried about the most. The procedure itself or what's on the other side of it. And I think obviously it's what's on the other side of it, because if they find something, then, like, I don't know. Like, it's something, I don't know. I don't know what I'm cut out for, but I don't know. Wish me luck. I shower and climb into bed to listen to Oliver Harper retrospectives on YouTube until I fall asleep. I meet my mom at the Explorer and we drive over. I'm checked in almost instantly, and my head starts to spin at how quickly the process is advancing. I sort of expected lots of time in the waiting room, thumbing through magazines, waiting to check in, and then waiting again to be shown to my room. But now I'm being led down a hall to a locker where all my things will live for however long it takes for me to wake up. Goodbye, wallet. Goodbye, keys. Goodbye, cell phone. And hat, I might miss you most of all. I'm not led into a room. There are no rooms, just curtains separating all the patients. I'm the youngest patient here. At least I hope I am. Otherwise, everyone else in here is aged about as well as an acceptance speech thanking Harvey Weinstein. It's loud and bustling. The work of people going in and out of observation rooms, the beeping machines, an anesthesiologist in a full-on helmet and other protective gear. An astronaut sent to answer my questions. Wait, it's all buttholes? Always has been. My nurse finds a vein while the astronaut tells me how it's all going to go down. I won't feel a thing. I don't ask if being a lucid dreamer would compromise that. The doctors will search for any abnormalities and remove them for biopsy. I ask if I'll be able to take a shit after. He says I won't have to. There will literally be nothing in there. He informs me of the risks associated with the procedure, the statistics for perforations and tears. I feel reassured. He notices my mask, one of the new pieces of RCR merch, which features a picture of my Mustang, an SN95 mask rather than a KN95 mask. I really thought I was being clever there. The astronaut tells me his friend had won a Roush supercharged Mustang not too long ago, in a contest he didn't even remember entering. It was apparently the fastest thing either of them had ever driven, all meat and potatoes slathered in Mad Dog 357. It cost the friend north of $20,000 in taxes to have the car released to him, but he happily paid that price, and I can't say I blame him, mostly because I don't possess the capacity to analyze that decision right now. As I'm wheeled into the next room, the panic begins to settle in. The doctor and all the technicians are women, which is reassuring because my male doctors tend to have terrible bedside manner. And if something goes wrong, I'd rather the bad news come from someone who doesn't sound like any of the number of voices my brain has assigned my father in lieu of a better memory. The doctor and technicians explain to me that I have nothing to worry about and that it's all going to be over fairly quick, and I'll be out of here within the hour. And I keep waiting for them to get to the part where they tell me to start counting backwards from 10. You know, like they do in the movies when they administer anesthetic. I mean, the cannula is just sitting there in my arm waiting to be filled with liquid shut-eye. Sure, I just felt a slight tension, but it would be weird if they injected the fluid without first asking me to start counting. Internal hemorrhoids. It was internal hemorrhoids, as it always has been. I'm given a printout of everything that was found, the polyps removed and biopsied, images of my colon and esophagus. It's bizarre looking at all the places where your food goes and comes out. I mean, sure, you can find any number of images of them online, but unless you're into some real kinky shit, you're not going to find images of your own. I'm told nothing sinister was found, which is good. I've never been anesthetized before, so the world is a haze, which is... Okay, it's not bad, but I don't know. If not for the printout with all the information and images, I'm not sure I'd remember any of this. All I can recall is thanking everyone for what they did, for what they continue to do. I wouldn't have blamed them for rolling their eyes, but I was so happy and delirious and also confused. I was a blank slate for the 20 minutes it took for me to start feeling like a citizen of Earth again. My mom is waiting in the Explorer as I'm ushered out to the parking lot, the late morning sun feeling particularly harsh in the wake of my drug-assisted nap. The world was pitch black a few minutes ago, but now you want me to countenance the sun? You tell him I'll have none of it. I made a point in the fog of new consciousness to turn on my phone's voice recorder app to document this for the diary. I lay my phone on the center console, prepared to give some deep thought which has hitherto been unthunk by sober minds. Here it comes, and... nothing. I don't remember what I planned to say, what thought popped into my head and left through the revolving door. I just lay there in the reclined passenger seat, hat over my eyes, waiting for inspiration that, not unlike a fleshlight, will never come. It was weird. I was like on the verge of a panic attack the whole time. The anesthesiologist came in and asked about my car, and I'm thinking, why is he asking about my car? And it's the mask.
Oh.
That I was... He told me this story about a friend of his that won a Roush that was like $80,000 to $90,000, and he had to pay $20,000 in taxes, but he didn't even remember filling out the form.
He didn't remember what?
Filling out the form to win it.
Oh.
I mean, I guess he did it just kind of like as an automatic thing.
Like she feels out every freaking shit. Signs up for everything, you know.
Do you remember when I was little and either you or Grandma were mopping the floor and Grandma slid across the floor?
Yes.
I felt so bad for laughing at that.
It has something to do with a pot of rice. I remember the pot of rice.
What does a pot of rice have to do with her slipping on the floor?
I don't know.
She literally slid across the kitchen on her back.
Yes.
Like she slipped and fell.
It wasn't mopping. It was on grease. Grease got on the floor.
Yeah, but she slammed against the refrigerator.
I remember that.
Did we have to go to the hospital?
No.
She just
was all right.
cursed it out.
Yep. She was fine. Where to?
Food. Farmer's market.
All right.
I gotta take it to go because they said the first meal is gonna like fly right through me.
Oh, okay. So what did you want to eat?
I don't know. Love you, Mom.
Love you too, boy.
Skinless grilled chicken breast and mashed potatoes sounded like a great idea at the time, but my stomach churned like so much creamery butter, and my mom came to the suggestion of watching Caso Cerrado to get my mind off of it. You know, the Latina Judge Judy, except the cases are far, far wilder, due in large part to the likelihood of it being scripted, in addition to some of the weirder personalities who come on the show. I remember a case not too long ago in which a woman was suing a man for selling her a weight loss product that would allow you to view what you were putting in your body so that you could rewire your brain to be grossed out by what it saw, which would then force you to eat healthier. How was this accomplished? By an at-home colonoscopy kit, of course. A tube with a camera that you had to lube up like a prostate massager and then shove up there so you could have a live look because you're doing this without anesthetic, apparently. Which begs the question of how this was supposed to trick your brain into eating healthier, since I'm not sure healthier food would be any more fun to look at in your colon than Mickey D's. The woman's son is brought in to testify, and though he's a witness for the plaintiff, you wouldn't know it from the story he tells. He'd gone out on a night of heavy drinking and came home pretty late. He passed out on his mother's couch, and at some point the next morning, he woke up to the unpleasant sensation of his mother testing out this new product on him. Yes, he was given an at-home colonoscopy by his own mother while he was asleep. It was at this point that I quit, because for one, that's assault, dude. That is clearly assault. And secondly, it was freaking me right the hell out, what with my own procedure coming in a few weeks. But now, on the other side of having been scoped, actually, yeah, no, I still didn't go back to watch how that case ended. And I'm not going to. I'm perfectly fine watching this episode about a guy who wants a divorce because his wife slept with her gay best friend on the advice of a traveling sex therapist. My mom thinks they're all morons, and I'm inclined to agree. I didn't shit again for a day. Didn't walk straight for nearly as long. Maybe the camera irritated the hemorrhoids, I don't know. All I know is that I'm walking like I'm trying to avoid stepping in a puddle wherever I go. A small price to pay for clarity. Well, smaller than the doctor's bill, I'd imagine. Chadwick Boseman passed away from colon cancer today. Honestly, I can't remember the last time a celebrity's death affected me this much. It's weird to care so deeply for people you don't know and never will. Maybe it's just empathy. You don't need to know a person to feel for their struggle or to feel sad over how hard everyone else is taking it. The news would have triggered my health anxiety had I not gotten this procedure done. I know that, but in the aftermath of having had it, my worries seem... I don't know, they just seem so silly. Sure, I had cause to be worried initially, but it's sort of like when love fails and you feel silly for ever having been so happy until you meet someone else and the process begins again. Your fear feels so deep and valid until you get clarity and suddenly you feel like you've overreacted to everything. And maybe that's true, but it doesn't invalidate your feelings, your struggle, you know? Yet my heart breaks for the guy's family, his friends, the people who knew and loved him and the people who didn't but simply loved what they saw, what they felt they knew, the idea of the man. Because an idea is a powerful thing, and we're all made of two separate people, who we actually are and who people view us to be. I hope people view me as a good guy. I'm not perfect, and Lord knows nobody is, but I'd like to think I try, and I hope that people can say, Nick is a good dude. I'm happy to know him. My follow-up visit ends with a prescription for medication to control my heartburn and a more forthright dedication to diet and exercise, for whatever that's worth. Maybe the world. I mean, I've already given up drinking, not because it was a problem for me, but because I realized I didn't actually enjoy it anymore. I'd feel like garbage, and it added nothing to my life, so why continue? I have a lot to look forward to this week. I might get to dog sit for my aunt and uncle. I don't even know where they're going that they need to leave the dogs behind, but I don't care. I love a dog. Dogs are an absolute good. I wish I could bring myself to own one again, if for no other reason than for the companionship. But I need to be able to leave. You know what I mean? To not have anybody relying on me in that moment. Of course, I say this while also dreading the thought of a vast loneliness. People are paradoxical in that way. But more than any of that, I don't get a dog because, frankly, I can't take watching them die. One time was enough for me. As Rocky Balboa once said, Father Time is undefeated. I get it. People die, dogs die. It's part of life. But somehow, life feels safer when you have less to lose. Yet it also feels a whole lot emptier because the things worth holding on to are ultimately the things that make life so rewarding. What's the value of something you could do without? Sometimes life itself is the thing worth holding on to get to breathe, to get to feel this autumn chill smack you in the face, to get to hear the doctor say that for now, you're okay, Nick. Right now you're okay, so maybe worry a little less, huh? I think in retrospect, this diary is going to seem even more absurd when whatever ends up killing me has its day. But for now, for once, I'm not thinking about it.